I used to be that person who'd listen in meetings and keep my thoughts to myself for myself and let other people lead. Who wants to be that guy? Yes, but one day I understood something. I wasn't getting anywhere by being nice. In fact, it was really adding up, so I chose to change the story and I promise that the world did not end, because I started to say no. Being in charge and not wanting to be anyone's doormat. On the other hand, things got a lot more interesting, and I'm leaving now to help you be more confident, even if it means making some people angry along the way, because honestly, who cares? If a few people get uncomfortable, boldness isn't just a skill, it's a safety tool in a world that loves to tell you to stay in your lane. By the way, if our content has been making your day a little better and you want to help us reach new heights, we'd be over the moon. If you'd think about helping not only keeps us going, but also kept us going and lets us bring you even more epic content. Join our small private group follow the link below to join Patreon and get sneak peeks behind the scenes, early access to new videos, and a lot more. Your help is like rocket fuel for our talent. Thank you very much. Thanks from the bottom of our hearts for being a part of this wonderful trip. We couldn't make it. Let's watch video 1 without you. There was a time when you should speak less and say more. When I thought it meant to be firm, I talked more and filled the room with my voice, letting everyone know I have something to say. But there is a catch. People don't listen as much when you talk. This was hard for me to learn when I found myself in an angry argument, spewing out every thought that came to my mind. And do you know what happened to my words? Noise and general talk. That people then one day, one of my mentors pulled me away and told me something smart. You can say that changed everything. People to listen and say less at first. They didn't get it. How could they say less make you more confident? But then I started to play around with it. I listened more than I spoke in a meeting. And when I found lie opened my mouth, I made sure what I said was clear and strong, straight to the point. No filler. And let me tell you, it was like night and day. Really, people started to pay attention, being careful, because when you talk, it's less that your words matter more. Like when a comic takes a break before the silence builds up to the punchline, looking forward to it, and when you give it, it hits twice as hard. So, here's the disputed part. The person who is making the most noise is the least aggressive. They might take over the talk, but they're not telling you what to do. Respect. They're asking for your attention. And there's a big difference between being aggressive and is about getting your point across, not just adding to the noise. But there is more to silence than just the without words. It's a place where in those times, meaning is born. When you fight the urge to fill, be quiet. The air with your talk, you make area for your true voice to come out, one that's based on intention, not just response. The words you use don't have any power, not their size but from their goal, in a world that's always changing, yelling where everyone wants to be heard. Sometimes the deepest and one strong thing you can do is speak up, whisper and send a strong word, because in the end, it's not how much of your what words describe you. It's the quality, the wisdom and guts too. When words fail, let silence speak for you. Fall short. 2. Learn how to say it. No, I used to always try to make everyone happy. I would help someone if they asked. It happens before they even finish the question. It felt good to be there for them, someone that everyone could count on. I saw something after a while though. Shaky. The more I said yes, the more I was so upset and angry that I'm spreading myself too thin and giving up my own wants and needs to keep others. The worst part was that it wasn't even making me happy. I understood saying yes to something important. You have to say no to yourself all the time. It's simple to get lost in the present. To think about helping out one more time won't hurt, but each yes makes your time, energy, and peace of mind. It took me a while, but I finally got it. How to say no and how it changed my life. Life, now here's the touchy part. Society puts a lot of pressure on us to be nice to stay out of trouble and be liked. The truth is that you should always say yes, right? Noble, it is. Assertiveness that hurts yourself isn't. Not being sure when to speak up, it's how to know when to draw the line. When I said no for the first time, I felt like I broke an unwritten rule in my heart, shook, and I was worried about what the other person would do. But guess what? Most people didn't think the world ended. Believed in my limits, and those who didn't show what they were really like. It's not about being bad when you say no. Not being selfish or mean is what it's all about. You know your boundaries and value your time. Being aware of the fact that you can't use an empty cup to pour, message when you tell people no. When you say yes to yourself, you're supporting your right to put your health first, your plans and your peace of mind. And that's not just strong, it's important for living a healthy life, a satisfying life. How then do you learn how to say, don't start with small amounts of practice with low stakes? Situations like saying no to a social, whether you're not interested in the offer, or being unwilling to take on extra work when it may feel like your plate is already full. It felt weird at first, but with each no, you'll have a little more power after you feel a little more in charge of your own life. Don't forget that you don't owe anyone an simple, I'm sorry I can't, will do, is enough. The more you practice, you'll understand that saying no it's about letting other people down, getting back up, because in the end, the most confident thing you need to do is draw your own lines. And that's something you should agree to. 3. Ease up on the fights I used to. Stay away from fighting like the plague. The thought of confrontation made my stomach hurt. Churn. I'd do anything to keep, even if it meant biting my tongue or giving up on my values. I thought that staying out of trouble was being quiet. But what I was abandoning myself. And it took me a long time to get this. There will always be strife, and ignoring it doesn't go away. It just gets worse. Trouble gets worse the more you avoid it. More it festers, small problems get worse. Into bigger issues I had to learn. Sometimes it hurts that real peace doesn't come from avoiding danger, facing it head-on and working at it. This is the disputed part of it. Truth be told, conflict isn't the bad guy. Often, it's what drives growth, change, and a better grasp of what you make peace with the fights you no longer see. Stop seeing it as a threat and start seeing it as a chance to make a point. Your needs clear up any confusion and get stronger, being friends with, but making peace with. Being bold doesn't mean you're in a fight. That is just plain rude or angry. It has to do with dealing with conflict it's about looking tall and cool. Stand your ground, even if it makes you feel bad. And being aware that it's okay to disagree. There doesn't have to be disagreement harmful, but it can also be helpful if you deal with it with intention. And please allow me to share a personal. Having worked there was a time when a coworker kept crossing the line. Being proud of my thoughts and putting down I tried to brush it off at first. I thought the drama wasn't worth it, but it finally drove me to make a choice. I gently told them enough was enough. They laid out the problem and talked about it, how what they did was making me feel. It wasn't an easy talk, but it was as a surprise to me. The worker I said sorry, and we made a better plan. A way to work together. The disagreement wasn't. It was nice, but it was useful for making. When there is strife, peace means accepting that not everyone will concur with you. And don't worry, it's just important to understand that sometimes being bold is the first thing you can do, is stand in the storm instead of running away from it. There will always be war in the world. Talk to each other, and when you face it have guts and be clear that you're not just by fixing a problem, you're making your worth. 4. Don't feel bad about being yourself. I was very good at editing myself for years. I'll tone down my views and smooth out my edges, and shape myself to meet their needs of them. It was easier to fit in than to be who others want you to be and stand out to be than to take a chance on being myself. But here's the thing. Every time I felt like I had given up who I really was, a part of me is leaving. The more I said sorry for being myself, the more I had forgotten who I really was. It wasn't until I lost it, that a time when I felt like I was living, I learned how to change someone else's life. I chose to hurt myself so much that right then and there to stop saying sorry for who I am is no longer a secret. Putting on a show and not being small to make others feel at ease, here's the fact that is controversial. Being yourself without apology means accepting the parts of yourself that other people don't like, might find hard, strange, or even aggressive. It means agreeing with that you can't make everyone happy, and that's okay. Okay at all. In fact, the moment you stop trying to get everyone to agree with you, the moment you start is around you living, being honest. But let's be clear, being yourself without shame doesn't mean it's not being rude or careless about making someone fit your style. For some, it's about having the guts to be real, even if it makes you feel bad. It's about being who you really are, with all your quirks, thoughts, and flaws, without having the need to get what you want or, please forgive me. I remember a time when I used to play down my interests because I was scared of being judged. I loved scary stories and difficult subjects. I hid that part of myself, though, because I thought it would make people angry off. But when I finally began to embrace those interests and talking about them openly, something amazing took place. Not only did I feel more real and alive, but I also drew in people who were truly liked me for who I was the most. The ties I made were stronger and more important because they were based on who I am, not some watered-down versions of myself. Here are the more I'm sorry for who I am in this letter. It's like living in a cage you built for yourself. It's a jail made of fear. Rejection, fear of being judged, fear of not getting along. But when you choose to be being who you are without apologizing, you break free. From that box, you put yourself in that you can be the person that you were meant to be together from the start. Being bold is what it's all about. Respect yourself when you stop saying sorry. Because of who you are, you send a strong message. Tell the world how much you care. Show yourself that you believe in your worth, which makes other people want to do the same. How do you start being without apologizing yourself? Start by accepting your being special, your skills, and your flaws. Pause. Put an end to your desires and odd habits, making changes to yourself to fit someone else. If you love something, share it. If you stand by something, you believe in it. If something doesn't hit home with you, if you don't push it, the right people will do it. I respect you more for being honest, even if it means making some people angry. As you go, know that you're not for everyone, which is good. The world doesn't need any more people who are. Each one needs to be an exact copy of the other. More people who are brave enough to be being honest and not apologizing. You not only live a life that's true to you, but you also make the way for other people to do the same. So stop sorry for who you are in front of. Everyone needs the real you, and you deserve it. Live as the most true version of you. In the end, being yourself without shame isn't just it's a way to be bold. Really, free 5. Put your ideals ahead of. In terms of partnerships, this one might sound harsh. I've learned this lesson the hard way, though, that there is no friendship worth having. Giving up your most important values for years, I thought that keeping ties, whether they are with friends, family, or co-workers, was the most important thing. Priority. I'd bend, I'd give in, and I'd forget about things that didn't make sense. With me, just to keep the peace, but every deal that was made left a mark. Feeling that I was abandoning them, it's easy for me to get caught in the trap, being sure that relationships are the life's most important thing and don't Do not get me wrong, relationships are important, make our lives better, bring us joy, and offer backup. But when keeping a being in a relationship says you have to, if you give up on your ideals, you're as I went into dangerous area. I had a close friend who would often ask me to ignore what they did. I wasn't okay with certain things. At first, that went against my beliefs. I'd tell myself it wasn't important, wasn't a big deal, but every time it bit away at me and I found myself getting more and more angry, I understood that by putting I was slowly choosing friendship over my morals, destroying my own sense of self-worth. Here's the ugly truth about sometimes you have to decide whether to stay true to taking care of yourself and a relationship whole. But the hard truth is not each and every connection is important to keep. If someone asks you to lie about your values, whether they're stated directly or not, it's not that they want your loyalty. They want you to be involved in something that's not who you are. But here's what your beliefs really mean. They are the basis of who you are. Say what you stand for and who you are, and how you find your way around. When you give up those ideals for the sake of a connection, you lose a piece of you. And once you start down that path, it gets easier to keep going. Giving in until you're left wondering, it's not easy to show who you really are. Put your values ahead of. It can mean having relationships not easy. Talking about setting limits that some people don't like, and sometimes get rid of people who don't respect you. I had to give up some ideals. Friendships miss out on chances, and I even stay away from family members who didn't get or accept my worth. It hurt, but it was important, and in the end, I felt a sense of peace I'd never had before, while I tried to be everything to, hey everyone. To be confident, you need to know what they believe in and won't give in on. It's about having it, no matter what the cost. The guts to say, this is who I am, and these are the rules I follow, even will stand alone if it means that. To be honest, that can be very lonely, but it's not nearly as lonely. More painful than living alone you're living a lie about who you are. So how do you start setting priorities for is more than, before you start dating, make sure you know why are these things important to you? Things you can't live without in your life. What morals will you not bend on? No matter what, once you're clear on these, use them to find your way, your ties. If you have any to take a break from your value, it means something needs to be done. To change either the relationship or what you did about it. Remember, true relationships are based on trust, honor and morals that everyone shares. If someone really cares about you, they won't ask you to give up who you are. They'll do not cross your limits, even if they don't always agree with them. And if they try to get you to bend over, don't break to change into someone else. You should break up with that person without finally putting your needs first. It's not about putting ideals over connections. It's not about being cold or not caring. It's about the courage to live like yourself. It's to understand that the most important friendship you will ever have is the one with yourself. And when you keep the promise you made to that person, the stage for other people to respect it too. 6. Today, people want respect, not attention. World, it looks like everyone is. Social media sites are fighting for attention, crowded with people wanting likes, share, follow, and talk to people in real life. The same is true for many who are desperate to stand out as the biggest voice in. I will say, I used to get caught in the room. I thought that if I got up in that game too, could just get enough attention, everything else would work out. But I learned quickly that paying attention is short-lived, shallow, and eventually not achieving what really matters, and how you treat others is what lasts. Here's a truth that might upset you, is simple to get, but tough to earn. Say that you can dress a certain way, do scary things or play to the crowd to draw attention to yourself, but show respect needs depth. It needs character being honest and truth. I had to learn this the hard way, when I saw that the attention I wasn't converting into the I wanted people to know my name, but they didn't care about what I stood for, so I made the choice to make a shift. I stopped paying attention to how many people were. I stopped watching and thought about how they could live in a way that honor, and the first step toward that, it took to figure out the difference. Being between the two is what attention is about. Respect is seen at the time, but about being appreciated over time. With respect, you stay true to who you are. Even when most people don't want to do it, means making rules and being there for them. Even if it means someone stops following them or going against people who live on your pay attention, it's about talking to reason for acting honestly and keeping the same even when no one else is. Respecting what you see isn't about doing things to see. It's about what you do things because they fit with your worth and ideas. One of the most important, here are some things I've learned, isn't something you can ask for, something you earn by what you do. For example, in my job there were whenever I had to make a tough choice that people didn't like, I elected to put what was right ahead of what was simple or something that would make me look good. In the short term, it seemed like I was going against the flow, but things that were chosen led to a respect as a base that has helped me much better than any short-term attention ever could. And here's the real word. Respect is inside, but attention is outside. Attention on the inside relies on the moods. It can be given and taken away from other people right away. But respect is something what you grow inside yourself first. It's about living the best life you can proud of if other people see it. Or when you value yourself, you don't set a rules for how other people should treat you, and the right people will come in time to honor you. Being too strict with respect also means being ready to leave situations and people who don't care about it. Knowing how much you're worth and not give up on being to be treated with respect, this could mean cutting ties with people who are based on surface-level proof or getting away from places that thrive on behavior that gets attention. It's not simple, and you may feel sometimes lonely, but it's necessary for keeping your pride in check. And honesty, so how do you ask for respect? Start by being instead of paying attention. Clear about what you stand for and let them help your deeds shouldn't go against your beliefs, so that they can be liked or seen. Do what's right instead of what's popular. Always be honest, dependable, and true to your word. And most of all, take care of yourself first when you hold you to a high level, and other people will too. Either rise up to meet the challenge or fall away. If things go either way, you win in a world crazy about instant satisfaction and the need to always recognition, picking to ask for respect. Getting too much attention is a bold, aggressive move. That's a promise to live being yourself and respecting yourself, even when no one is looking at you, and respect is a much better prize in the end, and lasts longer than any brief moment of pay attention could ever be. 7. Give up the story of nice for a long time. I thought being kind was the best thing I could do. Taught to be friendly and helpful, I would go out of my way to avoid making people angry. How I tried to be nice, even if it cost me hiding how I really feel, or letting some people take advantage of me. But here's the unpleasant truth I finally knew, to be honest. Being nice isn't the same as when people are being polite or kind. It's often just as a way to avoid disagreement and deny, I want to be clear, your own needs. There's nothing wrong with being nice or think about how important those are traits, but when nice turns into being a doormat is the same thing as being rude. I had to learn this the hard way. Whenever I found myself saying I said yes to things I didn't want to do. When you smile with your teeth clenched and I was so angry afterward, I was so busy being nice that I forgot to. I'm going to be honest with you. The world does not need this problematic part. It needs more honest people who are nice, real people who are ready to tell the truth, even if it's not comfortable. The lie about being nice is that it makes you nice and simple to get along with, but in fact, it makes you unnoticeable most of the time. You lose when you're too nice. What you say, where you stand, and sense of being proud of yourself. I remember my co-worker kept giving me more and more work to do. They didn't say no because they knew I would. I thought I was being nice and helpful, but all I was doing was making it possible how they behaved and getting tired in the process. When I finally got up the nerve to, I worried about how hard it would be to set a limit, about being hard to deal with or rude. But the joy I felt after being sure of myself was worth the it hurt, and the respect I got was much more useful than any short-lived feeling of being nice. But the real point is that being nice usually means, since it comes from fear, being real of being turned down and the need to be liked, but real confidence comes from inside. It's about putting your own wants first, and just as much as other people's. It's about being nice, sure, but not at the cost of your own health. Or, since you have integrity, how do you give up the myth of nice? Start by recognizing the being nice, and being kind and caring is about understanding, and being understanding is often a nice thing. Giving up your own needs to avoid, learn to say no when something comes up, doesn't match your faith or skill level, and don't be afraid to speak up when something makes you mad. To be bold is not to be rude, means being clear, honest, and straight, even if it makes other people feel bad. Giving up on the idea of being nice also means being aware that not all people will like you. It's okay, you weren't made to do this. To make everyone happy. When you let go of the need to be liked by everyone, you allow yourself to be who you really are. Flaws, strengths, and all. And the irony is, when you don't try so hard to be nice, people are going to respect you more. Kind people are needed in the world, but also strong, caring, and firm in their beliefs. When you give up the myth of nice, you make room for your true self to come out, a self that is assured, strong, and not sorry for who they are. That's much more real in the end, more important than any shallow newness ever be.